Are you someone who prefers overlanding but don't want to settle for a boring old basic Bronco that everybody has or an old Blazer from back in the day? Let's say you want something more original, maybe the first SUV of all time. Well, coming in at number 100 on our top 100 cars, we have the International Harvester Scout 2. Before there was a Scout 2, the original Scout was called the Scout 80. Just a tiny little thing, two-seater, no seat in the back, little removable top, very ahead of its time. And it was built to compete with the Jeep CJ, but it was meant to be a more luxurious model and honestly a market that hadn't really been touched yet. They were the first ones to really dig into it, other than the Jeep, of course, but the Jeep at the time was very rugged and not comfortable, which made it undersell, but it was the only thing in its class. If somebody wanted to go overlanding, off-road, any sort of thing that didn't involve asphalt, they were stuck with the Jeep. So what International Harvester did is they came in 2 years, engineered the Scout 80. The Scout 80 was produced from 1961 to 1965. When the Scout 80 came to production, it was offered with an inline-4 152 with a 3-speed manual, and generally was underpowered. Didn't really offer a whole lot, and the Jeep had a similar engine. I think they might have been producing the Duke at that time, which was an awful engine. But besides that, during its tenure, it outsold the Jeep after they released it. It was more comfortable, way better ride, obviously, more options, even though it didn't really have a whole lot. And people just liked it more. Even though it was offered with most of the same amenities as a Jeep, it was just more comfortable, and people liked that. As they sold more and more, they had special editions. The one that really stuck out to me was the 100th, 1000th edition. They offered with an entirely red interior, of course, the most 60s things you could think of. And they also had this little thing that they quite cleverly named the Campermobile. Now, if you're looking to get one of these, lucky for you guys, since this is the first time, our first car, I got a special folder for you. We can talk pricing of everything we're gonna do. So, this nice, beautiful Scout 80 you can get for less than $8 grand. A nice yellow color, I think it's in black and white. Yep, yellow color. A nice yellow color with a manual transmission, of course, and basically everything stock. $8 grand, not a bad price. Now, if we're looking for something a little nicer, maybe not as much rust, we have this 1963, all basic, everything like that. A nice orange color. I love the beautiful orange color. It's my favorite. If you see my truck in the past videos, if not, go check that out. Go back. It's a mid video, but give that a like. You know, help me out. Help me keep making these. But obviously if I were to get any of these, this would probably be the one I'd end up getting. After they had sold so well, their next thought was, well, where do we go from here? And like I said, they were just so great at naming these things. They decided to add an extra 0 to the name and came up with the Scout 800. Now the Scout 800, the way it was different from the Scout 80 is it was a lot more comfortable. They offered bucket seats, better HVAC options along with a different instrument panel, updated dash, finally a rear seat option. I'm surprised it took them that long. About halfway through, they switched it to the 800A, which came with a 2-tone paint, which honestly, I love the 2-tone paint. I think that would have to be the one I'd get if I got any of them. And they finally decided to upgrade the engine a little bit. They realized how weak that one was, the 152. So they decided to basically put the 152 in however many they had left in the Scout 800s. And then from that, they decided to get an inline 6 from AMC, which was 232 cubic inches. And then they finally decided to put a V8 in it. They had 2 different V8 options. The first one was a 266, and the other one was a 304. And that definitely helped, I think, with the power struggles that people were complaining about when I was looking it up. And they said the V8s were a lot nicer, obviously. And for overlanding especially, you could get up a lot steeper stuff. They also decided to switch the transmission. You could now get it in a 4-speed manual, and for the first time, about halfway through its tenure, I think in 1969, nice, they decided to offer a automatic for the first time. Now let's say you're trying to get a Scout 800 for yourself. Well, the price points on those would be for a beat up roller, you can get one for $7,000, and that is missing obviously the grill, the headlights, quite a bit of stuff. That needs quite a bit of work. For one that's finished in halfway decent shape, I actually really like this one. You can get one for $26,000, which a little steep, but this one obviously is very good looking. A light green, if you're into that. Still a 3-speed manual, so like I said, one of the ones they reused with the inline 4. So a little weak in power, but claims to have only 300 miles. I don't know about that. I don't know why you'd rebuild the inline 4. I don't know why you wouldn't swap that for something else. But if you're looking for a really nice one, you can get this absolutely stunning black. It's all in black and white. You can get this really nice black International Harvester Scout 800 for a steep $57,000 if you got that laying around. Or maybe you're into that overlanding stuff. I don't know. You do you. I really like this one. Would I buy it? Probably not. So those are your price points. Now on to the car that the whole list should be about. The International Harvester Scout 2. Built from 1972 to 1980, the International Scout 2 was miles ahead of the 800 due to even more comfort from larger leaf springs in the back. People told me it doesn't leak as much, so it still leaks, but you expect that from almost any convertible you get from the 80s. Amenities, they finally got on top of it. They added cruise control, power steering, full disc brakes, and a smoother trans. And along with powertrains, they had a decent list, the biggest list here. They offered them in a 192 inline 4, 232 AMC inline 6, left over from last gen, both of those. They got another AMC engine, another inline 6, slightly bigger, slightly more powerful, a 258 inline 6, a 304 V8, and a 354 V8. So quite the range of power, whatever you're into. Personally, obviously, V8 guy. So that's what I would go with. And also, an interesting fact, it was the first passenger vehicle to be produced with a diesel. So on top of all those engines, you could now get them in a diesel. Now at first, it was just a 198 inline 6 diesel from Nissan that they had bought off of them. And then after that, people were saying, like I said, it struggled with power because of how heavy it was. So they decided to add a turbo to it if you were lucky enough to get it those last 2 production years in 1979 and 1980. It came with a turbo diesel, which I think is pretty cool. And after all of those power options, you'd expect them to be just completely outselling the competition. However, sadly, that just wasn't the case. International Harvester had been going through a huge union strike in the 70s. People just weren't happy with the higher ups. Pay wasn't good. There's a bunch of rough stuff. And on top of that, Jeep started out selling them. Jeep finally got above the curve, making better vehicles. And then the gas crisis hit, of course. And the Scout 2 just was not hitting any emissions. So with all those really combined, the strike cost them $600 million, and that in the 70s now equates to $205 billion. And granted, you would think to a company like Ford that would be nothing, but International Harvester doesn't quite have the pockets like Ford, so that really took a toll on their bank account and forced them to close down their tractor business. They actually sold that off, and also cut the Scout, even though it was one of their best-selling vehicles. They wanted to keep making trucks. So after all that, they kept their truck business, and it actually started to take off rather well. They ended up changing the name since then. They are now known as Navstar and work on semis and school buses. But still don't really make a commercial truck, which kind of sucks. I think they could have the opportunity. If you're looking for price points on the Scout 2, lucky for you, I have 3 this time. Now, the first one here is a 1977. Comes with a V8 dual range transfer case for just under 10 grand. The body has definitely seen better days, but I honestly don't mind the look of it. I like it. I mess with that. Our next one here is in a lot better shape. It's a 345 V8, 4-speed manual too. Hell yeah. Now that is one hell of a car for just under 50 grand. 100,000 miles, you know, not too bad. I really like the color and look of this one. A solid choice. So let's say you want something with a lot more power. The old school engines just aren't enough for you. Well, boy, do I have the vehicle just for you. Don't have the year on it, but an LS swapped, all-wheel drive, convertible monster racing truck they have in the description. So if that's what you're into, I guess. Once again, not for me, but badass. Anything with an LS swap I like, so I approve. However, if you're looking for a modern day Scout, Volkswagen is bringing back the name. The only sad part is that makes it no longer American. So, but if you're looking for a convertible truck, I guess, Volkswagen's hopefully going to come out with them soon. Thanks for watching. You know, I'm still trying to stick to one a week. I'm sorry if this one comes out late. More than likely it will, maybe a day or two. This one, I promise, the next ones won't be as long. We're going to cut down on it.
Sounds like someone breaking in.
Just a storm, Dick. Sit down.
So, but I mean, I gotta make 99 more of these, so this one was only long because it's the only Scout on the list, so I figured I'd take you through all the other ones. And that's kind of where it went from there. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe, see you in the next one.